Oh, she clubbed me in the head.
Deserved it.
Allison Fields.
You deserve it.
Educating me during the break about why, when you feed your dog, you want to try to stick to the one so that should they present allergies, you can find alternatives for them.
Dogs can get food allergies, just like people can have food allergies.
Sure.
It's not always gluten. You know, that's the big trend right now. Everybody's gluten-free. All the dogs are gluten-free. It doesn't really necessarily have to do with wheat, corn, grain. You know, everybody's like, I'm feeding a grain-free diet. I'm like, well, that's great. Some dogs are not allergic to grain. Some are, just like people. Some dogs are allergic to chicken. Some dogs are allergic to beef. Some dogs are allergic to X, Y, or Z. And so what happens is, I recommend when you come in with a puppy to see me, you know, what are you feeding your dog? I'm feeding pedigree. Great. Good job. Good food. What flavor? Well, I don't know. Okay, go home and look at it. And then I'd like you to keep your dog on that flavor food until I tell you otherwise. So if they're out of pedigree chicken, buy Purina chicken. If they're out of Purina and that's what you normally feed, buy Iams. You know, just stick with the flavor as opposed to, oh, well, I feed pedigree. They're out of pedigree chicken. I'm going to get pedigree beef. When you do that, you are exposing your dog to different antigens. So if you come into me and say, you know, your dog's got all these skin problems, and I'm like, oh gosh, this looks like it very well could be food allergy. What food has your dog been on? Well, he eats chicken sometimes and venison sometimes and pork, and then we did beef for a while, and I did that salmon last year. So I've just run out of things to offer you to feed your dog as a food trial.
But only one of those might be causing the allergy.
Right, but you don't know what it is. And in order to do a food trial, you have to do 3 to 4 months of feeding a dog a novel protein in order to see if it's food allergies. So what are you going to do, 3 to 4 months with each of these foods? No. So if you could say, well, we've only ever fed her chicken or beef.
Then you know that's what they're allergic to.
One of those two. Maybe it could be the carbohydrate source, but it's much easier to then say, okay, great, we can do a lamb and rice, we can do this, we can do this. And
so the best thing is to keep it limited to the number there.
Yes. And you know, I just think we live in such a let's have lots of choices time.
Yep.
You know, when we were young, you went to the grocery store and there were 3 kinds of dog food and there was chicken and beef. And that was it, if not a blend. And that was it.
Now there's so many different varieties.
Now there's so many different varieties. Everybody's like, oh, I think they might like this today, or they might like this today. And by the time, you know, quicker than you know it, your dog's had everything. And now we're charging you for the hypoallergenic prescription foods.
What % of the dogs end up having allergies? Large number?
I think that probably 30
like humans
to 30 to 40,
so
30
a chance.
That they have some kind of allergy, whether it's food allergy or whether it's, you know, inhalant allergies or contact allergies.
Yeah, I think we've got, you know, Juice has that contact dermatitis, our beagle does from. All right, let's take some phone calls. Let's go to Susie. Susie, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm having a time with fleas. I've used drops. I've used shampoo. I can't seem to keep them off of her. What can I do?
Yeah,
because she gets fleas on the bottom of her feet, and she comes in and she itches and itches and itches. And I've got drops on her right now, and last night I found a flea on her.
Okay, so shampoos don't really work. They will kill the flea that is on the dog at that moment, but it doesn't give any protection. The drops, if you're talking about the topical things that you put like between the shoulder blades, if you're using those and you're using an over-the-counter brand, from my experience, those don't work as well nor as long as the things like Advantage and Frontline. But now we have several other options that are oral that seem to work even quicker and better. We have Comfortis, which is an oral medication that kills fleas within 4 hours and lasts for a month. It's fabulous. We have NexGard, which kills fleas and ticks. It's an oral pill. It lasts for a month. We have Bravecto. It kills fleas and ticks and lasts for 3 months.
Bernice, or rather Susie, let me ask you this. So what kind are you using? Is it some of the over-the-counter ones you buy at the store, or have you tried some of the Advantage ones?
Well, I've just gone to the store and bought drops, but I have bought the Frontline, but that didn't seem to help either.
We seem to be in certain areas of the country having some resistance to Frontline and fleas, which
Interesting.
It's been on our horizon, for a couple of years, and it really seems to be actually true. Which is why I'm loving the orals. They seem to work really good,
So
and it's a totally different mechanism. The other thing you can do is you can call an exterminator, or you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy like the Premise spray that also takes care of fleas.
the flea bombs.
Well, it's a spray. It's not. You can do bombs as well, and that's something that you can do. You can spray your yard, your house, all of that. You just need to make sure you get your animals out of there and yourself out of there until it dries. Follow the rules. But the other thing, as you're battling fleas, if you'll vacuum, not that you don't vacuum your house well, but if you'll vacuum your house really, really well once a week, including your upholstery where your dog gets, wash the comforter if your dog sleeps with you, wash the bed if the dog sleeps on its own bed, in just hot water with regular detergent, and then empty your vacuum cleaner, whether it's bagless or a bag, get that out of the house, because you're sucking up flea eggs, so that way we're not having more hatch out. So if you can do that once a week for a month, you can really cut down on future fleas hatching out in your house.
Okay, it's interesting what you said about Frontline, because I was going to say, and she said she bought the drops over the store, but she tried Frontline. And I know, Susie, you're like a lot of people. Some of these initially, compared to the ones you buy over the counter, it's a little more expensive to get some of the Advantage or whatever. But I'll tell you what, and we've used them all. I'm just telling you, they work. It's worth it. You put it on, you forget it. Now, I haven't tried the pills yet because the Advantage we use, or Frontline, whatever it is, works great. Just works absolutely great.
It's hard because it has a kill time of about 12 hours. So even if it's working, you may still find a flea on your dog because it may have just jumped on.
What's the kill time for the pills?
Depends. Capstar's 4 hours. I think NexGard is like 8 hours, 8 to 12 hours, and I think Bravecto's about the same.
Well, just ask your vet for those. Try the pills, but I guarantee. I mean, I'm thinking those, except in, I would imagine, very rare. So they work every darn time. I don't know if they can say 100%, but they work, and they're way better than the ones that are just over the counter. And they are a little more expensive, but you're going to spend more for less, and it'll work than keeping buying stuff.
The other thing that a lot of times happens is I think that the Frontline is labeled for 3 months for ticks and 1 month for fleas, and so people see the 3 months and they only use it every 3 months.
Right.
It is a once a month product if you're trying to prevent fleas.
Yeah. So just stick with that, Susie. Give it a try. I guarantee you, there's something that'll get rid of the fleas on the dog. There is. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. I don't know if she remembers, but last time I told you guys I have a rescue cat. He, I don't know if you want to say, "You want to say hi, buddy?" Anyway, he was about 12.6 pounds when he came up, and now he's about 14.2. He's a chartreuse that got like big shoulders, no neck. He's a male, and the males of that breed are even bigger. So I don't think he has a weight problem. The fleas, we had him on Frontline or something, and then I was supposed to put it on, but I wasn't putting it on right because I wasn't getting in between the shoulder blades and dripping out. And we took him back, and she said that he's one of 5% of cats that is actually allergic to fleas. So we bumped him up to something called Revolution, and they do it. They shave his neck, and I bring him in once a month. That seems to finally have gotten under control.
Wow.
Yeah, Revolution's
so that's my opinion on that. He's a good boy. He's just a big guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. You take good care of your cat.
She just came in. We fixed his foot. It was broken. She said he would have died if I hadn't saved him. And
what's his name?
I out once and got hit in the head. So he just has to stay inside now, I guess.
What's his name again?
His name's Buddy, right, Buddy?
I love it. I love it. All right, what were you going to say about that brand in the neck?
I say Revolution's another topical one that works well. There's a lot. Unfortunately, there's only one option for oral medication in cats.
Okay.
And that's the Comfortus. And the problem is that they have to eat it with a full meal. So it's not like you can just walk up and pill the cat. So you have to get the cat to eat, and then you have to get
buy
the cat
a fancy feast.
Some cats don't like.
They don't like fancy feast. What about like a raw piece of tuna?
I don't know. In any event,
you know what? Find me a cat that won't eat. raw tuna.
You want to come over? 'Cause Gammon
Oh, no,
will put
Gammon
that-
will
no,
eat it. Yeah,
no,
he will.
Gammon won't. He doesn't like anything but cat food. It's the funniest thing.
Oh, well, that's good.
Dry cat food. But anyway, see, now you made me totally forget what you were saying. What were you saying?
You were talking about the
Revolution and the cat,
on the
the
neck, and
Comfortus.
how that only worked for this one cat.
But the Comfortus is the only oral medication that we have for cats right now, and it is challenging because they have to have a full meal, not just a snack.
Okay.
You have to get this pill in them, and they take more than the dogs do per weight, so it's always a really big pill, and it doesn't taste great. So you're trying to crumble it up and crush it up and hide it and stuff. I have 2 cats that'll eat it, and I have 1 cat who just turns his nose up. He's like, I'm not eating that. So it's hard to always find a cat who you can get that medicine in, but if you can, it works really well too, and that's an oral. But pretty much we're limited to topicals in cats, and we just need to make sure that we're using the appropriate ones in cats, the right size ones.
Yeah.
There are some
Make
that
sure
are
you buy
labeled
'em.
do not use on cats.
That's right.
So we just need to make sure we're using the right ones and time appropriately. Make sure we're setting a reminder to do that in a month, and not like, I think it's been a month, but it's been 6 or 7 weeks.
Right. At the vet clinic, are you ever in a situation where you have to forcibly administer a pill to an animal, where you have to open up the mouth to put the pill in?
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Well, I would say probably.
Yeah.
All right, so how do you do
Daily.
that to a cat?
Oh, well.
Yeah, you just wedge the fingers around the outside of the mouth and stick the pill down the throat?
Oh, yes, there's a couple of different ways, and I make it look very easy because I do it for a living, but you make investigative journalism very easy.
I would get bit.
Right.
I would get bit by a cat.
So we will show people how to hold a cat and how to, restrain them, but we also have these things called pill poppers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That have a soft kind of rubbery tip. You put the pill in there, and it's kind of like a syringe. You can wedge that down to the back of their mouth and push the button, and the pill goes flink.
And once it's back there, they just automatically swallow it
If you get it back
down.
far enough, it's going down.
Easier with a dog, probably, right? No?
Easier with a big dog in my world, because I can just pry that open and shove my hand down their throat.
Yeah, and just drop
If your
the pill
hand's in their mouth, they really can't bite you.
Yeah. You've been bitten before, though.
Oh, yeah. Not
recently?
pilling.
Oh, I know. But have you been bitten recently?
Recently, no.
No,
It's
good.
been 4 or 5 years.
Good. Well, that's good. Yeah, most dogs are good. All right, listen, did you say we need to take a break, Mary? Okay, let's take a break when we come back. If you're on hold, more of your calls, 737-7587, questions for the veterinarian. We're going till 9 o'clock, so join us. This is fun. Why wouldn't you want to talk to us? We'll be back with more right after this.